Hello, I'm Susie Nation-Granger and you're watching the home of the British Sailing Team TV channel. Today I'm joined by Luke Sinnott, who is a member of the Paralympic Transitional squad. So Luke, can you tell us how you got into sailing?
Probably earliest memory of sailing was with the Scouts when I was a youngster, about 10 or 11, sailing little lasers on the lake and picos and things like that. Because I lived in Surrey, there wasn't a lot of coastline, so we didn't do a great deal of sailing. It was all reservoirs and lakes and things like that. And I took a bit of a break really. I started playing rugby, didn't do a lot of sailing, and it wasn't until I got to university that I got back into sailing again. Did quite a bit of stuff at sea, and then once I finished university, I then started working in the sailing industry because I was enjoying it so much. So I became an instructor. Started teaching people in dinghies and keelboats, and then I went on to work for a holiday company, taking flotillas around Greece and things like that. And then a moment of madness, I joined the army, and my sailing career took a bit of a dip. I did a little bit of racing through the army on the Isle of Wight, raced with the mermaids, and when I got the chance, I used to race on some of the bigger boats, the core boats and things like that. But a bit difficult with the pace of tempo, fighting two wars. It was very difficult to get out in the sea, so it was generally squeezed in as and when I could. And then I got injured, and I was spotted by Matt Greer and brought into the fold of the Transition sailing squad.
It sounds like sailing was something you really enjoy.
I do, yeah. I don't think I appreciated it when I was younger. I think there was too many rules when I was a kid, and I found it a little bit difficult to get on with all the rules of sailing. And so I got frustrated, and when other kids knew the rules and I didn't. So I think as I got older, I've appreciated it more, and seeing the opportunities out there, all the different boats you can sell. I've really enjoyed. I enjoy the fast stuff more than the slow stuff, but I just like the kind of the science behind it now. Really started to get my head around it.
And how long was it after you got injured to when you managed to get back out on the water?
Pretty quick, actually. I didn't waste much time. I'd probably been, after 9 weeks in hospital, I'd probably done about 2 months at Headley Court, and then I was already looking for sports to do because I knew it was quite key to my rehab, and sailing was the obvious way for me. So yeah, 3, 4, 5 months after injury, I was probably in a boat, giving it a go, see how I could get along with it.
And when did Paralympic sailing become an opportunity for you?
Yeah, that would have been first time I'd sailed actually after injury was with Matt Greer when he was looking for new squad members, and that would have been about a year and a half ago now that I actually went to the Isle of Wight and tried out the different Paralympic class boats, and I've been probably became a transition squad member about 8 months ago, something like that. And first started sailing 2.4s about a year ago, properly anyway.
And can you tell us a bit about your training, sort of on the water and land-based?
Land-based is mostly reading some of the sailing textbooks. Certainly picked up a few bits from there, but it's very hard to apply when you're just looking at a book. So we spent quite a few weekends, mainly in Weymouth, training, going through all the different routines under Matt Greer's coaching, and we go to the odd national events, racing against both able-bodied and disabled athletes, seeing if we can kind of better someone. Obviously, find someone on the water that's equal par of you and see if you can get past them. Try and get better and better each time you go.
So, what are your ambitions for Paralympic sailing?
Just to be selected would be an honour, really. I would like to have a go at all the different classes of boats and see which one best suits me. Certainly very big fan of the sonar, but the 2.4 is the one I'm in at the moment, so I'll persevere for now. But I think if you're given the honour to represent your country, that would be, whether or not you win any medals, it's the honour itself of going, I think.
And what's been one of the biggest challenges for you?
Probably In the water's fine. When you're on the water, you know, you're sailing, and it doesn't matter what your disability is. You've got the boat set up ready for you to go. It's when you're out of the water, it's all the work that goes in behind the scenes, getting those boats ready, all the repair work. They're not the easiest boats to get to when you haven't got legs. They tend to be a lot higher up than if you're in a wheelchair, for example. So you don't want to be reliant on people always having to help you. So it's finding ways around those problems, getting the solutions you need so that you can get that boat up to the highest spec you can. And being that I don't know the boats that well, I'm still learning them. It's a very steep learning curve, and I've gone on the water, realised it's not the right way of doing things, almost taken my head off with the boom and had to come back in again and start again. It's very difficult at times.
Did you know much about Paralympic sailing before your injury?
I must admit I was quite ignorant to the whole Paralympic scene. I was, like most people, you're wrapped up in what you're doing, and I did watch Beijing Olympics. I did watch the running and track and stuff, but I didn't know anything about the sailing. I didn't even know what kind of boats they sailed. And you know, it's a shame that you have to go through something like this to get awareness, but I think, you know, even 5 years ago no one was as aware as we are now about the disabilities people have, and certainly the likes of Afghanistan and Iraq have really opened up people's eyes, seeing, you know, young guys that are coming back with quite horrific injuries. So I think it's a lot better now, and it's good to be a part of the big movement that's coming along.
And do you think sailing's a good sport for other sort of injured servicemen to sort of take up?
Yeah, it's been popular actually. There's already 3 of us that have come forward to actually participate, but I know quite a few guys at Headley Court that are interested in sailing. There's a charity, Toe in the Water, that do a lot of stuff with injured servicemen. It's a good rehab, and it's a leveller, because no matter what your injury, there's getting around a boat is always possible, whether it be on your bottom or, you know, if you're hopping around on one leg, guys can do it. So it's a good rehab sport, and as long as it's done with other sports as well, if you're not just solely sailing, you're doing other things, you know, it's the best way for guys to get better and get on with their life.
And do you think the Paralympic Games will really help show people that sailing is such an accessible sport for people of all sort of abilities?
Yeah, I think so. You look at the current squad, there's 2 in a wheelchair, there's 1 missing an arm, guy missing both his feet, you know, so it's a real range of disabilities there. And you look at the transition squad and the people that are coming through, there's a whole variety, and there's no other sport where you'll see that kind of different disability competing together on the same field. And I think it's a brilliant one that you can really get to know different people's disabilities and understand what's going on, whereas most other sports, they just play with their own disability, and I suppose they think that's, you know, that they only know their disability, and they think that's pretty much as bad as it gets until you get out there and you see just what people are coping with. So I think anyone watching the sailing, all they'll see is heads bobbing around in the boat, but when they get out of the water, they'll actually see what these guys are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So
can you tell us a bit about the 2.4?
Yeah, 2.4 is it's a one-man boat, primarily designed so that all the controls are from the cockpit. So they are actually an able-bodied boat originally, but it's been adapted by the disabled classes to be used. They're controlled by foot pedals for the steering, or you also have hand controls. And the reason for the foot pedals is that it gives you your hands free to do all the lines, because there's a lot of control lines. I've lost count how many there are to pull, but I think it's somewhere in the region of 30 odd control lines that you can tweak with. Without your feet, obviously, you need to use the tiller, so you're generally left with one hand to do control lines, because you always need to be steering the boat. It's 2 sails based on standard setup of any keelboat really, and if you look at it, it just looks like a mini sailing yacht, and that was the idea behind the design when they built it, to be a mini sailing yacht designed for the fjords up in Scandinavia. Yeah, it's a nice, beautiful little boat, but it only goes about 4 knots, and that's pushing it, to be honest. So you know, there's no danger of high-speed crashes and things like that, like you get in some of the other classes. But they're sturdy little boats, and they do a lot of damage when they collide.